This is the MG4 XPower, 430 brake horsepower, all-wheel drive, all electric. We're going to take it on a 100-mile drive around the northwest of England before bringing it here to the Three Sisters race circuit near Wigan to put it through its paces. Watch this video and see how we get along. My name is Miles Roberts, you're watching Chorley Group Go EV. So what's it like in real world day-to-day driving? Well, it's very easy to just coax along. The throttle inputs, it's not one of these where you've got to be careful because if you step on the pedal it's going to suddenly launch you backwards, although it certainly can do that if you press it hard. It's very, very easy to drive in normal traffic, but when you put your foot down to get past a slow moving vehicle, it picks up its heels and runs. In terms of real world efficiency, we're currently looking at 3.6 miles per kilowatt hour. We've done 61 miles and used 25% of the battery since we set off. So I suppose real world, that's around sort of 240 miles, which is there or thereabouts what MG is claiming for this more powerful XPower version. Now, there is a decision to be made as to whether you should choose to go for the XPower or whether you're better off sticking with the normal trophy model. And that kind of depends on A, whether you can afford the difference. £5,000 is not an insignificant amount of money, but also whether you can justify it to yourself in terms of, are you going to use the performance day to day? Now, if your usual daily commute is around town and the odd bit of motorway driving, probably not, because you're going to be a lot of the time not in a situation where you can go any faster than the car in front. If you, however, live in the country and you have access to fairly deserted country roads with some interesting bends, this could well be a car that would pique your interest. This instant torque and power delivery is quite addictive. Now, I've driven a lot of higher performance vehicles in the past. My wife had a Jaguar I-Pace which was 400 horsepower and did 0 to 60 miles an hour in 4.2 seconds. She's currently got a Volvo XC40 with similar performance figures. This is quicker than both those cars, and at a fraction of the price, at 36,495, this represents incredible value for money when you look at purely in a performance per pound basis. Now, don't get me wrong, this is a smaller car than both of those. The interior of this is not as nice as the Jaguar I-Pace. It's not as luxurious. Having said that, it does feel perfectly comfortable. These seats hold you well. The Alcantara trim around the door panels and so on is a very nice touch. And there's certainly everything you need on the car in terms of tech. You've got your around view cameras, you've got lane keep assist, auto cruise control, Android Auto, Apple CarPlay built in, wireless phone chargers. So this is not a sparse car by any means in terms of kit, but it is very, very, very competitively priced. As I say, 36,495 is significantly less than what you would pay for many other vehicles with a similar performance. If you look at the AMG Mercedes A45, which has a 2-litre turbo engine giving 400 brake horsepower, that's sort of £65,000 to £70,000. So you get two almost of this for the cost of one of those. So what other upgrades has MG made to the XPower? Well, first thing to know is that the suspension has been stiffened by about 25%. Now, that's not making itself too apparent, actually. It's certainly not made the ride crashy, which is often the case when car manufacturers decide they want to make a sporty version of a car. They often overcompensate and the ride gets ruined as a result. This still feels very, very compliant, it still feels very comfortable, and certainly it's not shattering or jarring in the drive at all. Also, the brakes have been uprated. Now, it looks like it's got 4-pot calipers on the front and rear, but it doesn't. They're just caliper covers, but the brakes themselves are vented discs. They are slightly bigger than the standard MG4s. They are uprated, just not quite as uprated as they might look at first glance. Having said that, the orange XPower branded calipers certainly do give a visual appeal and make it stand out versus the standard model. Another thing that makes this car stand out is, of course, this matte racing green paint finish, which the other standard colour variants are available. This is a £800 option if you go for the matte green. One thing to make you aware of, it's not necessarily the easiest in terms of upkeep. You can't polish it like you would a normal car, so just bear that in mind if you're going to go for it. It does look pretty damn good though, I think you'll agree. In terms of everything else, I mean, we've still got access to the Sport, Snow, Normal, Eco and Custom drive modes, which I've got on this shortcut button here, so I can switch between them at a flick of a switch. And you notice actually if you switch to Sport mode particularly, that the steering becomes a bit heavier, and the brake response seems to be a little bit sharper as well. Obviously the throttle response is increased as well. So if you're doing any sort of track events, Sport mode is the one to be in. We've also got access to one pedal driving mode now. So that's very similar to Nissan's e-pedal functionality. So if you press that, that means that when you take your foot off the accelerator, it applies the brakes and will bring you to complete stop. We have also got variable levels of regenerate braking, the same as we do in the original MG4. So we've got level 1, 2, 3. We're increasingly getting stronger braking force when you take your foot off the accelerator. And there's an adaptive braking version as well. So if you select adaptive braking, then dependent on the traffic that the car in front, if there's any cars in front and the traffic the car can see, it will adjust the level of regen braking, basically to try and avoid you running into the car in front. So if you've got a clear road ahead of you and you take your foot off the accelerator, it'll tend to be very weak regenerative braking, and you'll have to apply the brake pedal yourself to slow down. If you have, as we have now, a slow moving vehicle in front of us and we take the foot off the accelerator, it will apply a greater regenerative braking force, so that you don't need to touch the brakes at all. So that's good. I keep it on adaptive most of the time. So real world range, you're looking at probably 220 to 240 miles. In terms of, I mean, today's a wet weather day. It's overcast, it's been raining quite a bit. We've been on the motorway with a lot of spray, and we're still getting 3.7 miles per kilowatt hour now, which is pretty good really, for a 430 brake horsepower all-wheel drive performance car. Comparatively, wife's eye pace used to get around 2.2, 2.4 miles per kilowatt hour in similar conditions. So yeah, the fact that this is less than 2 tons in weight does help that considerably, I suppose. But yeah, in terms of drive, it drives really well, it's really comfortable, and it feels really confident. We've noticed a couple of times when I've tried to provoke it, for example on a roundabout, and sort of, you know, buried the throttle a little bit early trying to get it, see if we can upset it slightly, that the traction control has kept it very much in check. I haven't tried turning off the traction control because I'm on the road and because I don't really want to damage this car. But we may, if we have confidence when we get to the circuit, turn it off and see how that affects things. I guess we'll find out very, very quickly if I'm as good a driver as I think I am, or if I'm in fact as bad as my wife says I am. So it's very compelling. We're going to try it on the track and see how it actually runs against something similar. We've got BMW M2. Petrolhead's car of choice. We're going to see how that compares there. And but initial drive, from driving 60 miles in this car, what I can report is it's perfectly comfortable, perfectly easy to drive day to day. The suspension's not too crashy and harsh. It does feel slightly firmer than the old version of the Trophy with the 17-inch wheels. I think the 18-inch alloys are giving a little bit more robustness there, but overall, no, it's a very nice car to drive. So visually, the MG4 XPower looks a little bit different from this, the 2022 version of the MG4 Trophy. This new matte green paint exclusive to the XPower. These little bumper infills, silver on this version versus sort of carbon fibre effect on the original Trophy. Moving back, we've got the wheels. Now, there were 17-inch 215/50 R17 tyres, Continentals on the MG4 standard version. On the XPower, we've got Bridgestone Turanza High Performance 235/45 R18s. I don't know if you can notice it, this actually sits about 1 centimetre higher than this one. Part of that's due to the bigger wheels that are fitted. As we move back, these side trims here, silver on the MG4 XPower, again carbon fibre, and on the back here we see that finally we've got a rear windscreen wiper on the MG4, which we didn't have before. One thing to note as well, this is the previous version, the 2022 version of the MG4 Trophy, gives it a black roof and black mirrors. That's actually gone from the lineup in 2023. You only get the black mirrors and black roof on the XPower and on the new extended range version of the MG4. So if you like that look, you're going to have to go for either the extended range 77 kWh battery or this dual motor version. Let's have a look on the inside and see what they've changed in there. So on the inside of the MG4, everything feels very similar to the previous model. As though we've got this Alcantara trim with leather and red stitching down the sides here, rather than blue in the other model. And we now have a third headrest in the middle at the rear. Useful if you want to carry 3 passengers. Everything else seems very, very similar, with the exception of, on here, we now have track mode. And that can be set up for either a circular route, so if you're doing a looped circuit like this, then you can set a start point and it will automatically measure your lap times. Or if you're going on, I don't know, like a rally course type thing, or a street driving, you can set the start point and it will measure your performance over that journey. So if you look at this, if you press start, street rowing, what it will give you is power distribution, a speed time curve, and also tyre G-force. So it'll actually measure your G-force laterally, longitudinally as well. So as you accelerate hard, you'll see how that is affected on your circuit. So we're on the 3-sister circuit, we'll set that going, and we're going to give this to a racing driver who works at the circuit and see what they get on with it. So we're at the end of the straight at the Three Sisters Raceway, and we're here. We're going to first of all test the MG4 XPower against the standard MG4 Trophy long range and see how that compares. And then we're going to see how a fairly hot BMW M2 compares as well. Let's see how this goes. Well, go through these cones, go around these cones here, we'll go back round, yeah? So, because the MG4 XPower is so much more powerful than the standard MG4 Trophy, we decided to give him a little head start. So we actually got him about 2 car lengths ahead, and we're going to see how that goes. That was at 70 horsepower, 70 mile an hour by the end of it, by the time I put brakes on. So apparently that wasn't enough of a head start, so we'll try now. He's going about half the distance down. We're going to start, we're going to see how we get on now. So he's halfway there already. So now we're going to do a video where we're testing this against a 380 brake horsepower BMW M2. The M2's got a 3-litre twin turbo V6 engine. When it was new, it was about £50,000. If you want to buy a new one today, it's about £60,000. So this is really sort of comparing the XPower against what is really, you know, one of the top of the line premium petrol vehicles, and see how we get on with it. So one of the things that we like to do at Chorley Group Go EV is actually get people who are perhaps first new timers to EVs to try them. And today I'm here with Sam Bickerstaff from Three Sisters Circuit, massive petrol head. Sam, what's your experience with driving?
Driving background, so I am a supercar instructor. I do drift instruction and I've been drifting for the last 12 years in high-powered cars.
Right, and experience with electric vehicles, minimal or?
Very minimal, a couple of laps here and there, but that is basically it.
Right, okay, so we're going to send you out in the MG4 XPower. It's a 430 brake horsepower car. I want you to basically give it a go, give it the beans and see how you get on with it. Is that okay?
Let's go.
Right, launch it and go.
Quite quick. It's quite good on the handling as well, steers in.
So what do you think of that?
Really impressive. Like the acceleration, handling is quite good for a standard electric car. Is really shocked, to be honest. Brakes are good. The acceleration, where does it come from?
I know, that's the thing. I've driven some fastish 400 brake horsepower cars before, but it's the fact there's no lag. It's just
there's no lag. It's just instant power all the way
like
through.
A bullet out of a gun. It's brilliant. Thank you so much for letting us use the track today. Cheers.
It's been a pleasure.
So what's really impressed me about the MG4 XPower is just that instantaneous punch of power. And to be fair, the handling, as we've been going around this track, that slightly stiffer suspension has really worked out for it well. There's a little bit of body roll here and there. You can feel that it's a heavy car when you're in the corners perhaps, but it feels nimble, it feels really quick, and the brakes work really, really well. We did experience a little bit of brake fade, but the car's only done 150 miles, so that's to be expected, I suppose. To give you an idea of how much power we've used, we've done lots and lots and lots of different runs against the MG4 Trophy, against the BMW M2, and lots of hot laps. We've had the professional driver out in it a few times as well. And over the last couple of hours, we've done 15 miles. The car's been on constantly. We've used 25% of the battery. But as you can see from the graphs on this track mode here, it shows how much power we've been using, and basically we've been cycling between 100% power and brakes all the way. So it's just been really, really intensive work for it. We did 100 miles on the first 50% of the battery. We've done 15 miles on the next 25% of the battery. We've got 25% battery left. We're going to be absolutely fine to get back to Chorley now on this. But yeah, if you're going to do a track day and you've got a fully charged battery to start off with, realistically, on a circuit like this, you're going to be doing several hours before you actually need to recharge, which is good. Talking about recharging, when we use a rapid charger, it'll charge at 135 kilowatts speed, so that means it'll charge from 0 to 100% to 80% in around 40 minutes, which is really, not long to wait at all. Right, we'll take it back to Chorley now. Thank you. We've had an absolute blast taking the MG4 XPower around the track here. I hope you've enjoyed this video. If you have, please click the like button down below and let us know what you think of the car in the comments. Could this be the next car for you? If you'd like to subscribe to our channel, you get to see more information about new car launches when they come out. Click up here to see more information about the MG4 XPower on our website. Click down here to see the video review we did of the MG4 Long Range Trophy Edition, and click down here to see information about the MG Cyberster.